Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and heartiest welcome to all to the final session of the one-week certificate course on design of structure organized by Indian Society of Structural Engineers in association with the Department of Civil Engineering of Sandip Polytechnic, Nashik. Dear all, today I remember a quote by Robert Greene: "The future belongs to those who learn more skills and combine them in creative ways." Keeping this quote in mind, we, the representatives of Sandeep Foundation, commenced a continual upbringing in the knowledge power of we people as well as the entire humanity in general. Hence, the idea of organizing such big scale seminars struck in the mind of our head of the institution. Friends, gaining knowledge and keeping oneself updated is a need of an hour. Though we all are suffering from a really tough time during this COVID-19 pandemic, it's our moral duty to keep ourselves ready to attain knowledge or to impart what we possess. Our various institutional departments worked on it and skillfully organized webinars on their respective arenas. We have just worked on it and received a huge response every time. It gives me immense pleasure to share you that more than 2,500 registrations and almost 1,200 plus active participants graced this one-week certificate course on design of structure through online Zoom platform or YouTube. Friends, similarly, we regularly adapted a policy of all-round development of our students through the value-added course such as personality developments, soft skills, advancement in technology for preparing them industry ready or to be an entrepreneur itself. Dear friends, on this very pleasant day, I formally welcome you all for this live session. Today, we have with us Honorable Mr. Hemant Vadalkar sir and Honorable Principal Professor Prashant Patil sir from Sandeep Foundation, Nasik, and all my dear esteemed participants from every nook and corner of India. Now, to address you in brief, may I please call upon Professor Shishir Dadich, Assistant Professor from Sandeep University, Nasik. Shishir sir, it's handed over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, all. I am Shishir Dadich, MTech Urban Planning from SVNIT Surat, working as an assistant professor in Civil Engineering Department of School of Engineering and Technology, associate to Sandeep University. Sandeep University is the first private university of North Maharashtra. First of all, I would like to thank Sandeep Polytechnic for giving me this opportunity to introduce my department and university. I also appreciate their effort in organizing this successful and informative webinar series for faculty as well as students. Civil Engineering Department offers UG, PG and PhD courses. UG, we offer BTech in Civil Engineering. PG, we offer 6 different specialization programs: MTech Structural Engineering, MTech Transportation Engineering, MTech Construction Management, MTech in Town and Country Planning, MTech in Environmental Planning, and MTech in Valuation, Land and Building. I am PG coordinator for MTech Town and Country Planning. It's a 2-year course. MTech in Town and Country Planning program is designed to enable the growth of students into professionals in the field of both town and rural area. After completing this program, students have a broad opportunity to work in different government planning department as well as MNCs working on smart city project, in planning infrastructure projects such as Amrut scheme project. Student can also work in policy making institutes and organizations. Academic career is also available. Is also a very good academic option. Career is also a good option, both in public and private sector. Nowadays, planning of any city or rural area is monitored by a planning department, uh, planning in which a work of urban planners is working. So they are recruiting the new urban planners for handling these planning schemes, bylaws of the cities, to make our students ready and updated as per industries. We regularly organize seminars, workshops, software training programs, expert lectures, guest lectures by the industry experts. We also encourage our students for internships. Last year, 15 of our students got paid internship by different organizations of the country. Our first batch has already successfully completed its dissertation and passed out. Many of our students are working in MNCs like KPMG, CIDCO, MMRDA. Also, our students are selected in assistant town planner exam by government of Maharashtra. So after completing your your UG courses, career opportunity in MTech town planning is a good option for students. Thank you.
Thank you, Shishir sir. Dear friends, it's my honor and privilege to be introducing our today's distinguished speaker, Honorable Mr. Hemant Vadalkar sir. Dear friends, I just wish to throw the light on the success and accomplishments of Hemant Vadalkar sir. Sir has completed his degree in civil engineering from College of Engineering Pune, and he has completed his master's degree in structures from VJTI Mumbai. And I'm very happy to share the information with you that he has been awarded with gold medal by Mumbai University. He possesses the varied experience in structural designing since 1989. Vadalkar sir is an active member of the Institution of Engineers India. He is the secretary as well as the advisory trustee of Indian Society of Structural Engineers. Hemant sir is a member of American Concrete Institute India chapter. He is also an associate life member of the Institution of Valuers and a life member of Indian Geotechnical Society as well. He is a life member of Practicing Engineers, Architects and Town Planners Association. Dear all, during 1986-87, Vadalkar sir worked with Dharmasi Morarji Chemicals and was a site engineer for the construction plant at Dhari in Gujarat state. During 1989-94, he has served in Shirish Patel and Associates Consultants Private Limited, Mumbai as a senior design engineer. Moving further, from 1994 to 2006, Vadalkar sir is a partner in a consulting firm namely Vartak Vadalkar and Associates, where he has designed many civil engineering projects like industrial, commercial, housing, and other utility projects. 2006 onwards, Hemant Vadalkar sir is working as a consulting structural engineer in the name of Vadalkar and Associates. He is involved in the analysis and design of high-rise complex structures. He has been remained as a computer analysis consultant for many projects. Some of the projects are Ghansoli Mass Housing Project, Indoor Stadium for Nashik Municipal Corporation, Tech Park Office Building Vashi, Hostel 18 at IIT Bombay. Vadalkar sir has conducted various seminars and trainings on StatPro software since 1996. Friends, he has published many publications. Just name a few: innovative designs for platform covers at New Mumbai railway stations in the Indian Concrete journals. Sir has presented and published various papers and articles in his field. So friends, let's welcome our very enthusiastic and intellectual speaker for today, that is Mr. Hemant Vadalkar sir on mic. Vadalkar sir, the session is now handed over to you. Vadalkar sir, please.
Yeah, okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Good evening to all. On behalf of Indian Society of Structural Engineers and Sandeep Foundation, I welcome you all for this last, I think, leg of webinar. We had series of, I think, lectures starting from Mr. Umesh Joshi, who talked on design parameters and design basis report. He explained the materials. Then I think Madhu Chikodi sir, he has taken about the slab designs, followed by Milind Shinde. He talked on, I think, the beam design and detailing. Vatsal Gokani dealt with column and shear wall design, touching upon the code provisions and the requirements in the design offices. Shekhar Gate yesterday talked on the foundation designs. And today is the, I think, the last I am going to talk on some software applications in civil engineering structures. On the onset, I must thank Sandeep Foundation for arranging such a nice program for civil engineering students, because I think we should give more exposures to our budding engineers, civil engineers, and training these engineers is very, very essential. And this is a very right step in the right direction. So I definitely congratulate the complete team of Sandeep Foundation, Professor Prashant Patil, Professor Vilas Nikam, Professor Ramesh Impi sir, and Shishir Dali sir. So with this, I think we will start the session now. And I'm going to talk very briefly about the software. And I think the question answers we'll have at the end of the session. I'm not going to show you any complex formula or the code provisions and all. I'm not going to do that. But the simple application themes we're going to work. One moment. So the screen has stuck, I think, 1 minute. Let me just check. Yeah, but it is not moving forward. I am just. I will try to share the screen again. Please give, excuse me. Yeah, okay. Is it visible now? Yeah, you can see this now. Okay. So as you know, for any civil engineering structure, all the form not visible. Is it visible now? Okay, okay, fine. Sorry for the inconvenience. So for all the civil engineering structures, definitely civil engineers or the expert person has to decide on the geometry of the structure. The basic framing has to be decided by the engineer in the beginning. And the expert engineer is required definitely to do the basic calculations as well. After that only we can use the software for doing the analysis, and that is just to validate the results and fine tune the results which were carried out by the expert with the basic hand calculations. Of course, we should know what kind of loads are there and what kind of sizes of the members are required, because that is required for the analysis purpose. And software is definitely needed for carrying out the complex design calculations. and analysis calculation, because we have studied that we are using the stiffness method of analysis, which involves solving of simultaneous equations. And by hand calculation, there are limitations. We cannot do more calculations, more than 3 by 3 equations. So if you have to solve a matrix of 1000 by 1000, practically by hand calculation, it will not be possible. So that's why we need some kind of software program as a tool, basically, to help us in doing those complex calculations and fine tune the results. But very importantly, the engineer has to decide what kind of geometry, what kind of form is required for the structure, and where the column are to be placed, what is the beam and column framing arrangement. That I think Vatsal also dwelt on that in detail, that the framing is very, very important. Where you want to put a shear element, where the shear walls are to be provided, that depends on the engineer. Software will not tell you all this. Software will just do the analysis for the data, whatever you ask for, that's all. Whether it is right, wrong, that you have to again decide. So engineer has very important role in this. Going back to the olden days, I remember initially people were using the log tables. We also used that log tables during our college days as well. And then slowly, slide rules came in. After that, there were calculators that have been used for the calculation purpose. And then after that, beginning of something 1980s and 85, that time, some basic computers, desktop had just come in. Because I remember when I did my master's project in VJTI, there were no fast computers available. So we have to use the TIF or mainframe DEC computer, wherein the punch card system was also there. So we have to just submit the data and then collect the output the next day. That was what the computer system available at that day. So we used to write a lot of programs. So it can be with any simple programming, like with a basic language or C++, and that those times where the Fortran is a very popular language. Today also it is also to write our small things in Fortran. The was use some kind of sophisticated program. The graphic was not available because the terminal was not there. You have to feed the data and then collect output next day, and then I can read that output, which is in a text form, purely text form. So then finally interpretation become very, very difficult. So then I started writing my own program in BASIC at that time to interpret the output which we got, which has got thousands of numbers. So that I developed for preparing the diffracted shapes. So unless I understand what is happening in my output, unless I plot the diffraction diagrams, I will not be able to understand whether it is happening correctly or not. So that kind of basic computer programming started. And I think the most important part of the programming, which is I think the spreadsheet is the most powerful tool still today. I think all the engineers, the young engineers especially, I should recommend that they should start using those type of tools. See, why we need a computer program is basically to do the repetitive work all the time and all the donkey work. We have to do it again and again. See, for example, I have to design some column. Yesterday, I think Vatsal has explained in detail. There are so many load combinations. So for all the load combinations, I have to check that interaction diagram, MUY and MUX diagram. So I have to just calculate. I have to do the same calculation again and again, 100 times, 1000 times. So by hand calculation, again, there are limitations. So if you can write down something in like say spreadsheet, today I think many of these design engineering they use their spreadsheet, and that is I think much more useful and powerful programming part. So it is not necessary that all the time we need to use any programming language as such for writing the programs, but a simple spreadsheet also will be very much helpful. MATLAB is again the advanced uh, option available for you to write this type of coding and programming. And then going further, there are some commercial software programs. Those are of course available for various different applications. I am just going to show you the summary of the programs which are available for civil engineers. But in principle, we have to understand that this hand calculations cannot have any substitute for the basic engineering understanding substituted by any powerful software program even. So what kind of programs are available? So just for information, I think everyone knows about that, but I'm just making a list of the available tools. So I call the software program nothing more than a tool. Basically, it is a very, very advanced tool. So there is a different categories. One is a drafting tool, what we need all the time in the engineering offices. So most popularly used, that is AutoCAD program. So which is used for making our drawings or the sketches, the drafting part. MicroStation, another part used around the world, which is similar to AutoCAD, but different platform, of course. Autodesk is this, Autodesk product is AutoCAD, and MicroStation is the Bentley product. Then one more another program which is again becoming more and more popular because which is very cheap compared to the other software programs, the ZWCAD. And there are so many other CAD based software available. So people are using these tools for basically doing their drafting part. Then there are some finite element tools also available, which is generally used for all the research institutions. So if you see at any MTech projects or PhD projects and all, I think most of the work is nowadays people prefer to use these finite element tools to do some work on their project. So there are popular programs available like say ANSYS is I think most commonly used program, is a finite element program package available. Then Cosmos, the SolidWorks, Abacus, Nastra. There is a very big list available, but I just noted few programs. These are basically FEM tools, which can be used for analyzing any kind of structure. And basically, for research-oriented project, definitely you can use that. In as far as structure engineering is concerned, this kind of tools can be used to simulate our structures as well as some stress concentration study. Of course, you can do with a fine meshing and all. With the opening around opening, what happens? You can just find the stress patterns over there. Now, coming to the most popular part of the structure analysis and design programs, which are commercially available today. The most popular programs, as you know, it is a StatPro, is the most popular program used over the years. ETABS also is another popular program, mostly used for the building type of structure, RC type of buildings. But StatPro, as I said, is a general purpose program. SAP is again a general purpose program. Any different type of structure, of course, you can analyze in this type of software. Then there is one more another powerful program, which is called RAM Structure Systems. Again, this is also a specialized program. You can have different type of structures, analyzing concrete, steel, any combination composite structures as well. MIDAS is another program, but which I think more popular for bridge analysis, though they have some building modules as well. Then NISA is another program. Starts, I think earlier days, I remember there was some GT Strudel and this build mask of the program. I don't know whether there is an update available now in these programs or not. But these were the programs available for senior structural engineers. So there is a big list of this type of software programs as well. Then once you do the analysis, then you definitely need to do the detailing part. And for detailing, of course, there are certain packages, software programs available. The most popular program will be the RAM structure system also, that also has capability of detailing and drafting. RCDC is another most important and very, very powerful program developed in India with our own engineering team over here in Mumbai itself. That is now by Bentley Systems, and they call it now advanced STAT design now. That is advanced concrete design. That is nothing but RCDC. So that is again most popular program used by many design offices across India. Then Tekla is another powerful program that is mostly used for steel structures. So when you want to do the detailing in steel structures, get the fabrication drawings, the material take off, list everything, small minor detailing. Tekla is the preferred software that is being used in the industry. Then there are other programs like say ProStructures, another program again by Bentley. So it does the detailing of steel structure as well as concrete structure as well. And then one more program being developed as a DraftWin program also. That is also coming up. Then there are some visualizing tools available nowadays. Mostly you must be aware of the BIM. Everywhere now there is a BIM. So it is a building information management. So you can just put all the information about any structure in a 3 dimension, and it can be integrated with across all the disciplines. Like say you can have architectural plan also. You can have the structural layout superimposed over the same thing. MEP also can be put in the same model. And then you can of course study the entire structure as a whole, putting in all the services, structure, architectural, doors, windows, everything together, just to see whether everything is okay or not. So you can have the clash detection facilities be very powerful, because whether two ducts are crossing or the duct is crossing my beam or not, that you can just find out from this type of visualization programs. And from Bentley, there is a program called similar to Revit. Revit also a very popular program. Revit has got different modules like you have the MEP module, structural module, architecture module. Same way, Open Building is one of the programs available from Bentley. So that was also doing a similar kind of inspection. You walk through, you can get the keys also out of models. So these are also powerful tools nowadays available for all the engineers. When you come to the design of bridges, this is another again branch of civil engineering specialization is in bridges. So that again is to be done in a different way. There are different codes available. You have to just mainly follow IRC standards. There are railway standards also if you are doing some design for railway bridge and all. And the most popular program in this category is MIDAS. So mostly that is being used. Then from Bentley, you have the Leap Bridge and the RM Bridge also. These are also very, very sophisticated programs which use any kind of bridge you want to use. CSI Bridge is another program available from CSI software. It is a family from this ETAB and Safe software series. Autodesk also has got some bridge design module. Then there is Larsa. So there are different packages, of course, available for bridge design. So based on your requirement, you have to choose the correct application. Then coming to geotechnical, that is also I think very, very important part, because for designing a structure, we need to find out the geotechnical parameters before designing our foundations. So that is also very, very important. For very complex structures, of course, you have to do the three-dimensional analysis, modeling the soil around this thing, like say metro projects. So you are doing a lot of tunneling, which is going under some of the buildings and all. So you have to see the stability of the building also adjoining this. So for that, you need again 3D type of analysis. And Plaxis is, I think, most powerful program and most popular program. There are other programs like Soil Vision, Geo5, GeoSlope. This is basically for slope stability analysis and all. And Rock Science 3D is another Canadian program doing the similar type of application. So I think there are many, many programs and commercial software packages available. But of course, again, as I said, the concept is very, very important for our civil engineers. So that one has to understand how the structure is going to behave. And of course, you have to just cross-check and confirm the results or fine-tune your modeling and the planning using this kind of software. Because all the iterative work and repetitive work for optimization, of course, you can use this type of powerful tools. This is just summary I am just showing you for students, just for your interest. The Bentley has come out with this type of different verticals, and they have just software packages related to all the type of civil engineering applications. Like right from survey, you need to plot all the points in 3 dimensions to create a surface. Wherein again, then you have to build a building or you have to plan a road or a railway line for that. So right from surveying, then you need a contour mapping, contour plans are required. So you can see this rail and road bridge, then you can have this type of superposition. So the important part is you can use different type of software products. Again, the major issue is there has to be inputability of the data from one software to other software, and that is, I think, the main problem generally people are facing. Because if I use one brand, I have to generate data for that particular module, that software. Now for the next application, suppose I am using some different module or different brand, then if there is no data transfer facility available, then again I have to regenerate the data for the next module. So that becomes very, very cumbersome. So there has to be seamless transformation from the one module to another module of the data. That is, I think, very, very important. And I think in this Bentley software tools, they have just generated one platform which is called ISM platform. Through that platform, you can transfer data from any module to any module. Like say, for example, from the STAD, if I'm doing the model in STAD, I can transfer the data from the structural engineering package like STAD and the RAM building systems directly into Plaxis also. So to do my soil structure interaction studies and all, the data can be transferred to RAM connection software to just do my joint detailing and design. So that kind of things are definitely required. Otherwise, you have to just redo the data again and again for different modules. So I think in the software, while choosing the correct application, one has to remember this aspect also, that the data transfer should be seamless. Otherwise, you make a lot of mistakes if data transfer is not done properly and correctly. Otherwise, it is duplication of work also. So there are say hydraulics again, you guys have water systems network you can analyze, water hammer you can see, sewage systems you can analyze, and the networks also you can analyze and all. So in civil engineering application, there are various type of programs are required for different, of course, application. One is for road design, bridge design, water network analysis. For the soil, and as I say, it is a slope stability analysis you have to perform, or some mat analysis and foundation. So that kind of application, you have to just use the correct programs. So various programs, of course, are available. We have to be very carefully selecting the program. And again, as I said, structural software is nothing but a tool basically, and that should be used by a very, very responsible person who has basic knowledge. Again, I am saying basic knowledge of structural engineering and a clear understanding of the structural behavior, because that is very, very important and a must for using any kind of sophisticated algorithms and the software. Because sometimes people ask us that, okay, we have some draftsman, can you train our draftsman in using this STAD software? We say, sorry, STAD is not meant for draftsman basically, because it is meant for engineers. So unless you understand the behavior of the structure, you should not use that software, because otherwise it is not just a data in and data out. You should know that whether the data generated or data created by the software and output is correct or not. Otherwise, what will happen? You can imagine a car driver, he tries to fly a plane, then there is bound to be a crash, certainly. So that, I think, the precaution one has to keep in mind, that the software must be used by only the expert person understanding the structure. Unfortunately, what is happening nowadays, see, our young generation is very smart enough, of course, in all the software tools and all, and they generally handle this type of software in all the design offices. But that is very risky, as I said again. So initially, I remember when I joined Shirish Patel and Associates also, engineers were not allowed to use any computer or any software for some few days or few months. So up to 6 months, 1 year, we used to do our calculation only by hand calculations, using calculators only. That's all. We were not having any access to this software program. Unless you do some hand calculations yourself, you will not get a feel of the structure. Otherwise, it is just a number crunching game. You never know whether you are doing it correctly or not. So you should understand how the Venn diagram will look like and all. So I will just come to that also. But I think we have to keep in mind these things. So we started from the small structure, look at the right hand side. So the small structure one can design, analyze with hand very easily. But now the structure becoming very complex. As you see, the small structures are going and the big towers are coming up. And builders are again have very tight schedule. Architects are behind you all the time to produce the drawings. And then you need some time, of course, to rationalize your framing plans and find a good optimum solution. And for that, a lot of efforts are required, time is required, and for that the software is used as a tool basically. So again, the same thing, the size of the structures are increasing day by day. It is the complexity is also increasing. You need to take out some columns, you have to have some bigger spans and the complicated geometry and all, which is very difficult for analyzing by hand. So for that, of course, software, there is no other option to that. But again, as I say, it is to be used as the only tool. And the most popular, as I said, it is STAAD and ETABS, the most popular programs. Those are used for our building analysis and design. ETABS is again mostly popular for RC type of building structures. And STAAD can be used for any type of structure with the C structure, industrial structure, any combination of that. Since I am more conversant with STAAD, I think most of the time I will be talking about the STAAD, but that applies to any kind of software, building analysis and design software. It is similar to all this. But while using software, one has to remember certain things. Again and again, I'm emphasizing detailed understanding of the structure behavior is of course essential. Along with that, whatever software you are using, you should understand the functionality in the software and the limitations, of course, because the software cannot be perfect 100%, and never anyone can claim that 100% is a bug-free software you have. Never it will have. There will be some kind of bugs everywhere. And if you just read carefully all the agreements with all the software companies, there are disclaimers given in the beginning only before using of the software, that for anything happens to the structure, this company is not responsible. So one has to remember that the responsibility is always with the engineers who are using the software. You cannot just say that I have designed it with app and the building has failed, so there is problem with the software. No, that cannot happen. So there is a disclaimer all the time that the person should be knowledgeable enough to use that software, and the company doesn't take any responsibility if there is anything happens by use of the software and you do the wrong designs and wrong construction. So again, that is very important. So one has to understand the limitations in different type of software. Along with that, the plus points and additional commands which the software is providing, of course. The features in the software as well as the limitation, both I think should be understood very clearly before using any kind of software program. That is, I think, very important. And the results of it should be appropriately interpreted and validated. How do you interpret the results? By looking at different diagrams, like a bending moment diagram, as I said, or the differentiated shape of the structure, which will tell you the behavior of the structure, how the structure is really behaving. So from that, you can just know whether what you are getting is correct or not. So validating of the result also very important. So for that, you should have some basic calculations with you, of course. And again, we are insisting all the time that some random cross-checking, of course, is very much helpful for cross-checking the results with hand calculations. So STAAD or ETABS is designing, say, your hundreds of beams and columns, but at least one element, one column, you should do by thorough hand. You can take out the forces from the analysis, or you can, of course, do some simple moment distribution calculation and to get the moment values. And for that, you can just check the steel required, the stirrups required, and whether the software is giving values close to that or not. That, of course, you can check in time. So cross-checking is very important. I cannot rely 100% on any software in the world. So that I think must be very clear. Now, focusing specifically on this type of STAAD.Pro, that is also mostly used by the design offices, and many people are using that. So very, of course, popular program for analysis and design, used world over. And this is again, as I say, general purpose software. So you don't have the specific type of structure which can be analyzed using this type of program. Any kind of structure you can model. It can be with a dome you can analyze, with different type of truss configurations you can analyze. But ETAB is specifically for your building type of structure where you have the typical floor plan, most of the time, concrete structure, mostly that is very powerful. And that is also, of course, popular. But this is a general purpose program. Any type of structure you can, of course, analyze and use this software. But data can be again transferred to another modules, as I said, for creating the drawings or creating the connection designs or doing the foundation designs and all that. We can also discuss that. Once you do the analysis, you can just transfer the same data to other program. I think Mr. Ghate also has explained to that. That is in ETAB and SAFE, because once you do the analysis in ETAB, then the same data can be taken to SAFE for the foundation design. Similarly, here, once you do the analysis in StatPro software, the same data can be transported to the Stat Foundation Advanced module. Basically, the support reactions are transferred over there, and you start from the support reactions for the foundation design. That is what the starting point is. Now, I'm just going through the small steps in the model. I'm not going into details of all the software packages, but what are the important steps and what are the critical points you must understand, that I'm just noting it down. So the first important part what one has to understand is what is basically software computer program does basically. So we have to make a model which the computer program can understand. We have the real life structure which we are going to construct. So what we are trying to do is basically we are simulating the real life structures into modulation of our real life building in the mathematical terms we are making, which the program or the software can read. So it is a simulation process basically what we are doing. A mathematical simulation I call it. Now see, the results are depending on your model. How good is your model and how accurate is your model. So accuracy of the results will again depend on the model you build. But again, from my experience, I'm just suggesting and saying that it is always preferable to have a very simple and approximate model than having more accurate but very, very complex model. See, people try to use very, very accurate type of model. They try to with the secondary members, all the small cutouts, small beams, fine meshing for all the slabs. So you make your model more and more complex. By that you feel that you get very, very accurate results. But I think that is not the case. That is not the real case. But approximate model with a basic framing also is good enough. So I prefer all the time the approximate model, because the model, if it is becoming more and more complex, you are likely to make more and more mistakes in the model. So that is the more danger in that complex model. And in the civil engineering, as you say, that we are not basically talking about any rocket science, or we don't need that kind of accuracy of in fraction of millimeter, fraction of angle. We have the accuracy of some few inches at our side basically. In the column load also, we talk in terms of 80 to 100 ton load. So it may not be 85.6 tons, doesn't matter with the 90 tons. So that kind of accuracy really not required in civil engineering as such. So we have to keep in mind all these things. Sometimes we face certain problems in, I think, government department. Sometimes there is some proof checking done by some people. They literally check number by number with decimal points. I think that is not in civil engineering. You have to grossly see the range of the results. That's more important. So structural alignment is to be decided in consulting with your architects and the clients. And you need some kind of experience to do the better structural arrangement, which is giving you the better structural performance, I say, and optimal solution. So preliminary member sizes, of course, how do you decide that? There are some guidelines available, but of course that comes from the experience. So once you do different type of structures from your database and experience, of course, you can decide what kind of column size will be there, what kind of beam size will be required for a particular type of structure. So these are the basic steps for building your model. Because for any computer program, you cannot just say that, okay, this is my building and do the analysis. You have to give all the properties, the sizes initially for even analysis also. So program cannot decide on its own what kind of sizes you need to take. And instead, there are different ways you can generate a model. So there is a simple text editor available. And then graphically also you can make a model. Structure wizard is available, from which there are structural library available. You have to just pick up the structure and then modify the structure based on your parameters like height, width, and the spans. That can be modified. Or you can, of course, import from CAD. Apart from the first part, I think the 3 steps are generally available in all the graphical modules in other software packages. That has got the advantage. It has got one more option of text editor, which is, I think, more popular and more powerful also for making the data very fast. Then once you make a model, again a simple model, the frame members, and you can, of course, make a data file which can be again analyzed in graphical. You can check it. So again, you can make the model with finite elements if you wish. But slabs are generally not required to be modeled with finite elements. People sometimes say that, okay, we model everything. I think ETAP does that. There is automatic machine option also available. But basically the slab loading we have to transfer to our beams, and you have to just take the diaphragm action into account. That is, I think, more important part. So that can be indirectly taken care in the STAT program as well. There is a diaphragm option available so that you can use it. So basically you have to just make a frame model wherein you have beam and then put the loadings appropriately on this. Once you make a model, then you have to of course check the geometry graphically, and then you have to put the property and the support. This is the next step. So this is just small flowchart I am showing you. It can be with STAT, it can be with any other software as well. So it is basically the geometry you have to prepare, which consists of your joints and the members, connectivity. Then the properties you have to specify, the sizes as I said. Then you have to specify the constants, like what kind of material you are using, like a modulus of elasticity you need, and the Poisson's ratio, density. These are very important constants you have to give, and the supports. Without that, you cannot just build a model. So these are the prerequisites for generating the geometry for your structure. So this is a basic preliminary model that you have to make first. Once the model is ready, you have to check it graphically, and then you go for the loadings. Based on different codes available, dead load, live load, seismic loads, and wind loads, you have to apply the loads on the structures, and then the combination of load you have to do for the design purpose. Once the loading is applied, you have to check it with the graphics, whether loads are applied correctly. The summation also, of course, you can get and check whether the loads given are correctly applied on the structure or not. And then you can perform the analysis by using the software program. And then after doing the analysis, you get the output that is available now. In the output, what you basically get is all the circuit geometry you can cross check, you can get all the support reactions, you can get all the member forces, including your bending moment diagrams, the deflection diagrams, and all these things. That is a part of your output. Different load combinations as per the code provisions, like say I456 talks about different load combinations for limit state method. So for that particular combination, you can of course go for design. The next step will be your design. So either it can be a concrete design or it can be a steel design. Now, steel design also, as per the revised code, this is as per the limit state method. Earlier code talks about the working state option also. So some programs, they provide the facility for working state as well as limit state both. So this is a general flowchart for any kind of software program, how it works and what are the steps involved in using the software package. Now I'll just run through the steps again. Different units can be used in the software. Again, you have to be very, very careful in defining the units. Generally, we should have the consistent unit all the time. So there is no confusion. So you start with kilonewton and meter, then keep on using the same unit. Otherwise, in between, suppose if you use different units, then there may be some confusion sometimes. So that is, I think, one of the important part one has to remember. But instead, you can, of course, choose multiple units in different locations. So property, I can give it millimeters, the members or joint, I can define the in coordinates in meters and also on. So I'm not going to detail in all the things, but in principle, I'm just explaining the steps involved. So you have to define all the intersection, the structure, the joints, and then you connect those two by defining a member. So member is just connection between the two joints that can form your beam or it can be a column. And then you can of course use the specific number scheme for your beams and columns. So that is flexible. You need not have a serial number. It can be any series of numbers starting with 1, 1001, 5001, and so on. So it is as per your convenience, you can do the numbering and all. It is some small sketch I am just showing you, which shows the numbers, which of course you can check. Here what we are using is, see, first floor beams is starting with 101, second floor beams are 201, and so on. So you can decide your own numbering system or any configuration, which will be easy for you to track the data later on. So any kind of numbering pattern you can of course follow. It is not, again, people are using some software package to understand application. For example, are connecting some kind of beam element or column with a finite element, which is 3-dimensional finite element, and that is giving you instability. So there are some more instability problems. So one has to understand what kind of degree of freedom we are going to use in a particular system. Or if you define a structure and you can declare all the supports as maybe your, say, rollers, so it can slide. The entire structure can keep on sliding here. Have stability problem. So one has to be very careful. Software is again a tool, but you have to use it correctly. Otherwise, you will end up in some problem. Then once the structure is ready, then of course, as I said, you have to give the properties. It can be from the seal table for the seal structures or prismatic section for your concrete sections, or you can have tapered members also. The profiles are also available that you can of course assign. If you are using the elements, I'm not going to details of element, but these are some of the precautions, how you decide the element. If you're studying in your post-graduation, the finite element type of analysis and application, then I think this part is more important. Software tools are available. Generally, there is guideline available. There automatic meshing also is nowadays available. But I think some basic fundamentals should be understood by the user, of course, all the time. That the aspect ratio of the element should not be more than 4 and all. Otherwise, you will not get a good result. The element should be a convex element. It cannot be a concave element. Otherwise, you'll again land up with problems. So these are, I think, some of the finer points one has to understand while using this type of software. Otherwise, people are just using the software but getting some erratic results. And there are some reasons if you are not using it correctly. So that also I think one has to understand. These are some of the list of the elements I am just putting for the information. There are different type of elements available, maybe 3-noded or 4-noded, or you can have the brick element, which is 8-noded element. So based on type of applications, you can of course use. Suppose you have a very used structure like say dams and 3-dimensional structure, then of course you have to use the 3-dimensional element or the raft for that purpose, or pile caps and all. If you are using just a flat plate and you can elements, the plate element, that is good enough. So based on type of applications, you have to choose the correct type of element you are going to use in the model. There are of course some miscellaneous commands that are always available in all the type of software. One is the orientation of the member, that is most important I think. There otherwise people will make mistakes whether the column is placed horizontally or vertically. So that I think you have to tell the software correctly, otherwise the results will be different. Then there are some member releases. I will just show you some pictures for that. Sometimes it depends on the connection you are going to design for a beam to column, and then you can release a moment. If you are just designing a shear connections, it will not take any moment. So then in that case, in your model also, you have to release the moments in the model. Otherwise, the results will not be consistent. And there is member offset command as well. So I will just show you some pictures for that. So beta angle is the orientation of the member along its local axis. That is nothing but beta. In the next picture, you can see it very clearly. Beta is 0. The column is in short. If you see in plan, it is oriented horizontally. But if I want to turn the column in the vertical direction like this, so I have to rotate it basically by 90 degrees. So that is what is defined in terms of rotation angle, that is called. So the size is same. Maybe is it 230 by 600 is the same also 230 by 600. But one is horizontally oriented, one is vertically oriented. So you have to of course tell the program what your intention is. Then as I said, member release is again an important option available in most of the software programs. So whether one end is to be released or both end to be released, it depends on type of structure you're analyzing and the connections you are going to use. Sometimes there are some partial release also is possible, but again, it is very tricky command. You have to use it with caution and full understanding. These are the pictures for your release. Say if you see some release, I don't want any moment to be developed at this point for the beam. So you can see the symbol like this in the model. So you understand, okay, there is something released over here. So you can just check the release parameters over there. So degree of freedom will be removed from this particular point. And the beam will be like a simply supported between these 2 points. That is the meaning. So it depends on what type of and so that's the most important. Member release is also very important command. Similarly, member offsets. See, we are modeling the structure generally at the center line of the beams and columns. So when they intersect at a node point of the junction, then there is some overlap available. So what happens is the column is here. This is the width of my column and the beam. So theoretically, I am just modeling at the center of my column. So beam is from this center line to this center line. But real beam is from the face of the column. So that effect, if you want to account, which is again called the offset command option. So that is also available in most of the software programs, but you can of course use that. So that will create a secondary effect on the column over here. So the load is transferred at the face of the column here with this much eccentricity. Half the depth of the column is eccentricity. So if you want to take that effect into account, then of course you can use this type of option. As far as the offsets are very small, doesn't matter much in the analysis. But if the column is like your shear wall and all, then it makes a lot of difference. So one has to understand where to use this command exactly and where you can ignore that command. So that is again your expert judgment. That is very important. Then there are some special type of members also available in STAAD. For example, the active and inactive members, those are also used like for bracings, because bracings are capable of only taking tension, for example, and otherwise they are inactive. So they will take only lateral loads whenever there is a wind and earthquake load. So that bracings are designed only for that type of loading. But for vertical load, they made inactive. So that is another option available. You have to just make it active inactive, or you can make it a compression only member or tension only member. If you can declare a member as a truss member, it will not take any shear or any bending. It is a pure actually loaded member. So that kind of declaration you can take. Or cable members, it can be only pure tension member with the sag into account. Here are some of the examples. Like for example, I have the frame over here, which is a rigid frame. If I am designing, it's a steel structure. And these bracing members are only active when the lateral load is applied. Otherwise, they are inactive members. So as far as my analysis is concerned, these members are not at all there. That means when I can make them inactive for my vertical or dead load calculations. But when I apply the horizontal loads, then they can become active. So that kind of situation you can create in the software. You can give those type of commands. Similarly, I can define a member as a trust member. So for example, I am analyzing these trusts. So these members I can declare as trust members if I wish. And these are, of course, the columns. These cannot be declared as trust member. Otherwise, it will form a mechanism over here. There will be pin here, and then there will be a mechanism. Okay, so these cannot be a trust. This will be only bending member. So this will be normal column. Rafter also generally is not declared as a trust member because you have the purling suppose supported in between. Suppose is this point. So that will create local bending in the rafter. So generally, rafter is not declared as a trust. But apart from that, the other members can be declared as trust members, which can carry only axial load. So this type of modeling, user has to decide what kind of model you want to build and analyze. So accordingly, you get the results. Of course, there are some type of cable members, of course, you can utilize. So this can be in a supporting members for your bridge-like system, or you can have this cable supported guy rope towers and all. So there you can use the cables. So basically purely tension members. Again, after you do the specification for your members, you have to give the material constants also. As I said, modulus, the density, Poisson's ratio are very important. If you are doing some kind of temperature analysis, then you have to give the coefficient of thermal expansion as well. That is called alpha in STAT terminology. So these are the options for any material you have to give for doing the analysis. And for that, you have to give the constant. Different type of materials, of course, I can have aluminum, steel, timber, concrete, steel. All these materials you can use. You can give the numbers corresponding to that constants. Supports is very again important part. Generally, we have the fixed support or the pin supports. These are the most commonly used support, but there are certain other type of supports where it is not really pin or fixed, but it is roller type of support. So you allow displacement in one direction. So that type of supports are also very important. You can have the spring supports over here, where you can simulate the soil structure interaction in the soil springs as well. So different type of supports are available, and you can utilize them based on your requirements. So here you can see different type of support. This is type of fixed support, and you have the pin support where rotations are allowed. Here everything is locked, so either moment will be zero, and you can have some kind of degree of freedom you can release. So I can allow the support to slide in particular direction. So that is also possible. This is one simple example I want to show it to all my students. Very important part, because when you design something, the boundary condition is very important. Support conditions are very, very important. There are some mishaps occurred because of the wrong boundary condition. The software program is okay, but the boundary condition was wrong. And recently, I think there is some failure in Delhi also for some of the auditorium roof has come down simply because the boundary condition was simulated correctly. For example, if you want to analyze a simple truss, what is the correct boundary condition? One should be always a pin support and other must be a roller support. So it should be allowed to slide, and then only you should get a correct analysis of this type of system. By mistake, if you just define both the supports as pin support, then what is going to happen? The behavior of this structure is not same as this structure. Why? Because if you just look at the forces in the structure, if I just put both the supports as pin supports, then the bottom chord generally should have a tension. If I put a vertical load like this, it should be in tension, top chord should be in compression. But that will not happen if I put both the ends as pin support. You can just try doing one analysis. And if you find that the bottom chord is not taking tension, that means you should understand there is something wrong. And then the forces will totally be different. The bottom chord force will drastically reduce if I just put both the pins over here. What happens? Because there is a thrust generated and the support is not allowed to displace. And that's why there is a lot of thrust generated in this member. And that's why the forces are totally different. So if you just make a mistake in this type of boundary condition analysis, the structure behavior will be totally different. And then one has to be very careful for this type of stuff. Otherwise, everything is okay. Only you have made a mistake in defining the supports. And then the entire analysis can go wrong and the structure can collapse here. So there's an instability problem. I will not go into details of all the instability problems, but I think one has to understand there is some message sometimes pop up that there is some instability in the structure. So you should not ignore that. There are some local instabilities, there are some global instabilities, or there are some mathematical instabilities. Mathematical instability means it is based on some stiffness calculation all the time. So if the member length become very, very small, then in the denominator, if the value of L is there, then the term becomes infinite. So that is called some kind of mathematical instability or precision problem that comes. Or if you connect a very rigid member with a very flexible member, then that kind of problem will occur. So I think this is some theoretical background, but I think one must keep about that. Also very, very important. understand what's happening and avoid problems in the model. So the model will not be correct, of course. And how do you find out that there is some instability in the model? So you have excessive deflection. That is first indication. The structure will have a large deflection, maybe it's a few meters or few kilometers. If that happens, then you have to just check the structural geometry and the support conditions correctly. Otherwise, there is some problem in the model itself. The geometry is not correct, or some boundary conditions are not defined correctly. Or you have got very huge stresses, infinite type of stresses you get. So there is some problem in that model. So the two things I will suggest: one is you can look at the load path. Basically, you can see the deflected shapes. If you have got very excessive large deflections, then you assume that okay, there is some problem in the model itself, or some loads are getting lost. So there is a very important command available that is called the static check. So whatever loads you are applying, the summation must be equal and opposite. Suppose if I am applying 100-ton vertical load, I must get reaction of minus 100, so opposite direction. So if I am not getting the same reaction, some loads are getting lost, then there is some instability problem. So I think these are the two indicators I am just indicating just for your information, that these are the indicators for tracking the instability issues in the software. Otherwise, now people are just putting some buttons and then putting some data and getting some output without knowing whether it is done correctly or not. So I think these are some of the important cross checks one has to keep in mind. There are very special topics, but I am again not going to details in all this, but there are some shear wall modeling issues, and one has to be very careful in modeling this type of structures. Correct modeling is also very important to get ways to do this, but we'll not go into details of all these things. Then diaphragm action of slab is also another important aspect where you are not modeling the slabs in the physical model or in your computer model. So you have to simulate the action by indirect methods, like a diaphragm action can be simulated by various ways that you should do. And of course, as I say, you can use finite element application for different type of say domes or tanks or some flat slab where you don't have any beams as such to define. So there, of course, you can use this finite element method as well. Now, just briefly, I will touch upon, I think we have some more time, 15 minutes. So I will try to just touch upon some loading and what kind of loads are available and how do you see it on the graphics. So different type of loads, of course, you can have. So we have to, of course, learn it properly from the particular software requirements. And you can check the loads graphically. Once you apply the loading on the structure, like say your dead loads, your the wind loads, your the joint loads, the member loads and all, you can just check it graphically. So it can be either in local direction or in a global direction. The directions are also very important. You have to just cross check that, whether it is done it correctly or not. There are some load generators also available. So one is a wind load generator, one is another moving load generator. Moving load is generally used for your bridge type of applications where the load is moving. Basically, it may be track A vehicle, track B vehicle. You can move on the structure and then it will generate envelope loads for you for the diagram for bending moment and shear forces. Seismic load also can be generated in the software based on your latest code 1893. And you can have time history analysis. This is basically pure dynamic analysis for vibrating machines type of problems where you want to study the vibrations. And there are floor loads available. As I said, I don't want to model the slab in my structure, but I can take the two-way distribution into account. So that is more important by using the floor load option, and you can see the distribution shown on the right-hand side. So the two-way distribution is applied on the beams finally, and the analysis can be done. Then there are some pre-stress and post-stress loading also available, wherein you can just simulate if I have some pre-stress beams in the structure, you can do that also. I can apply the pre-stress force on that particular beam. Or you have the analysis, you can have the temperature loading. There's the rising temperature or differential temperature. Outside temperature may be more, inside temperature less, and so on. So that kind of simulation also you can do wherever it is required. The wind loads are also there, which can be generated directly by the program. But again, of course, one has to check that loading, whether it is doing it correctly or not. See, because as I said, there are some limitations in all the software programs. So one has to understand that, and then you can use that program. So always I said you have to just do some basic hand calculations to understand whether I am getting the required results or not. So wind load calculation is not that difficult. You know the average intensity of the load or the pressure multiplied by the surface area of the building face. You can get the approximate value of your wind force that is generated. So you have to just check whether the program is generating that kind of load or not. This is a graphic representation of wind load. On this, we are generating the wind on this face of the building. So these type of loads are converted into joint loads at different floor levels. And the summation of this load must be equal to your total wind load on the building. So that one must cross check. Same thing happens with your earthquake loading also, or seismic loading. As per the latest code, you can generate a load on the structure. Two approaches are given in the code. One is called a pseudo analysis approach. That is, we are not doing the real dynamic analysis, but it is a static approach. So we are converting the actual earthquake loads into equivalent static kind of load, which is in the earlier code called the coefficient method of analysis, and other is called the response spectrum method of analysis. Response spectrum is more detailed dynamic analysis as such, but both the options are available in the program, so you can just perform analysis based on these approaches. Now, these are just some of the options available in dynamic analysis. I am not going to into details or read these options, but there are various options available. Like you can put harmonic loading, the sinusoidal loading on the structure, and all these things, and do the frequency calculations. And you have to just, of course, all the time check the resonance, because your machine frequency and the structure frequency should not match. Otherwise, that will lead to some resonance. So that kind of thing can be done in STAT analysis. This is a sample example of mode shift, how the structure is going to vibrate in a different modes of vibration. This is under response spectrum. You can see different modes of vibration, and now the new codes and all, they talk about this type of analysis. And the first two modes needs to be a translational mode, and the third mode can be a torsional mode. Otherwise, if the first mode comes to torsional mode, then that structure analysis is not valid. You have to modify your structural arrangement and the framing. The structure is not competent enough to carry the loads. So that is another thing we can check with the software, of course. Then once everything is okay, then you can go with the analysis, and then finally you check the results. Analysis. There are various ways you can verify the results, of course. There's a text output available wherein you can read the numbers like support reactions and all. You can read the numbers, bending moments and all. And graphically, of course, you can see on the screen, frame by frame, you can see, or grid by grid, you can check of the results. Differentiated shapes is again very, very important. And then I think you must see before proceeding for your designs. So after the analysis, the first step will be you have to see differentiated shapes for vertical loads, for lateral loads and all, and see whether the structure is really behaving the way you intend to. And the next will be your envelope plots. For finite elements, you can see the stress contour plots, of course. So I'm just showing you some pictures of that, just to understand. And as far as the seal design part is concerned, then you can have the code performance or the ratio check, we call it, so that you can just see graphically and just find out whether it is doing it correctly or not. So for example, I'm just trying to show you some just a simple diagrams. Everyone is aware, all the software packages will produce this type of diagrams. This is a differentiated shape. If I'm putting a load on the structure, which is unsymmetrical load, which is placed on this particular panel, there is a sway in the structure. The vertical load definitely, but still it is unsymmetrical. So the structure has some sway. So you can see there is displacement also in horizontal direction as well as in vertical direction. So this is a diffracted shape of the structure that I think one must imagine and understand what is happening in the structure. Same way you can see bending moment diagrams, of course. For the continuous beam here, you can see there is a bending moment. There is a positive moment here, negative moment here, and there is more negative moment over here. Some part is taken by, of course, this column. So that's why you don't get the same bending moment at both the ends. So the moment in the beam right hand side and the column moment is equal to the moment in the other beam. So there is equilibrium on the joint also has to be satisfied. If you want to see the value, you can read the values here in the table, wherein the diagram is also available and you have the values. So for the entire structure, of course, you can check for a particular floor level, you can check, or particular member, you can check the bending moments and the values. Same way, you can look at the shear force diagrams. I will just quickly run through these pictures. And then this is axial force. I think this is a very, very important diagram. People generally are ignoring this, but I think this is also a very, very important diagram. One must see this diagram also. So that will tell you the load path in the structure. I think a lot of speakers, like say right from Umesh Joshi sir also talked about the load path, and Ghate sir also, because whatever load you apply on the structure has to be finally transmitted to the foundations. So you must see that the load from the top of the structure, like a roof of the structure, should travel through the beams to the columns and then to the finally to the foundation. So the load has to be traveling in a particular direction, and the axial force should keep on increasing. That you can see from the diagram very clearly till this foundation level. So this is a very, very good diagram which will give the idea about how the load is getting transferred in the entire structure. It may be dead load, it may be live load, it can be lateral load also. How the load is getting transferred to the foundation. One must see these diagrams as well, along with the bending and the shear force. This is again a mode shape diagram. This is the first mode of vibration. This is a fundamental cantilever mode of vibration. The structure vibrates in this particular mode most of the times. This is called the first fundamental mode also in dynamic analysis. So all these diagrams you can see. And if I am doing the finite element analysis, someone is very much fond of using the plates for the slab analysis and all. So I can just mesh this entire panel in 4x4 grid and so on and apply the loads. So what I get is like this diagram. These are called the stress contours. The problem is it is very difficult to interpret the results of this type of contours. And finally, see what we are interested in, we are putting the reinforcement. So we should put top range steel or bottom steel. That is, I think, more important for us. And what is the bending moment? So only the expert interpreters only can understand this finite element output. So that's why generally I suggest that unless you are very much conversant with finite element analysis, you generally should not use this, because see, there are a lot of options available in any kind of software, but which you cannot interpret. You should not, of course, use it. Otherwise, there are going to be mistakes done in this. So, of course, the tool is very powerful. You can use it wherever, of course, it is required with the guidance of experts. Then, as far as the results are concerned, as I said, this is again, I told you all these things. You have to check deflected shape, the support reactions, you can get all these things. Then check the result by your basic hand calculation. I think that is very, very important. You should not miss that. Otherwise, there are some blunders people are committing. Then when we check some design calculations submitted for proof checking and all, then we find that initially only there is some mistake in the units itself. So all this, whatever program they have run or result they have generated is all useless. So these are some mistakes again one should try to avoid. Or there is some decimal point mistake. Instead of 10, you are giving some 100 value. And the column load, instead of 10 tons, it becomes 100 tons. And this type of mistake. So that should not be happening. So I think one has to have some kind of feel of the structure, and one should know the values, what I am expecting from my analysis output. And then, of course, you can just cross check. I think Vatsal talked about the P delta analysis and all. So those are also available in most of the packages. P delta analysis with non-linear analysis and dynamic analysis. These are all advanced topics of discussions. So it depends on the type of structures you are analyzing. For very tall structures, very P delta effect is also very important. Then you should consider that. So the facilities are there. You have to understand it clearly and then use it. That is only my submission. So again, one important part which is always to be kept in mind, that your assumptions in the analysis and design should be consistent all the time. So whatever you are assuming right from the model preparation, that should carry forward to your model building, and that should be same in your analysis and same in your design. Like for example, if I am releasing some moments, uh, if I am doing some kind of simple connections, say for example shear connections. So these are the examples given. So I'm assuming that is a shear connection only in steel structures. So in the model also I have to release the moment. That I have to remember. I cannot just analyze the structure without any release or without rigid joints and then analyze, and after that I cannot detail it as a simple joint. So the point is you have to be consistent in the assumptions in the beginning itself, what kind of detailing you are going to follow. So that dictates your type of connections, and based on that you have to release certain moments wherever it is required. Sometimes torsion is related in the beam design, but then you have to relate torsion in the analysis also, which is not done. So this is not consistency then. If I'm taking the torsion in my analysis, then I have to design for it in my actual design also. So what I mean is basically you should have the consistent approach in the modeling, assumptions, analysis, as well as design and detailing also. So detail follow procedure, same thing. So that is, I think, very important. Must remember this. As far as steel design is concerned, the important part is the correct design parameters, because see the software is taking some kind of default values of parameters. The most important parameter in steel design will be your effective length. So you have to be very careful in giving the effective lengths. Otherwise, if you give the wrong number there, then the design also will be wrong. So I think that is very, very crucial point. Vatsal also raised that point. The column height is single height, single floor or double floor. It depends on the tie you have at the entrance level. So that dictates your effective length of particular member of the column. Same thing happens in steel structure as well. So the parameters are very, very important. You have to be very, very careful in defining the parameters. And this is the plot, what you get in output as a design plot, basically, whether the member is passing or failing. The interaction ratio, this is a ratio. So ratio exceeds 1, that means the member is exceeding the limit. So it is more than 1. Otherwise, it is shown in, say, blue or green color, which is less than 1, say 0.45. That means the actual force is 45% of the actual capacity of the member. That is the meaning. So these are very, very important plots you get, and you know that which members are failing in the design. In concrete design, again, as I said, you have to give the correct parameter. Like grade of concrete, you have to specify, like M30 you are using or M40 concrete. Grade of steel you have to define correctly as per your requirement, as per IS 456. Then cover to the reinforcement is another important parameter for your column and beam designs. And in the column, I think most important part is you have to define the arrangement of steel in the column. I think that is very crucial for getting the correct designs. So whether you are putting steel on all the 4 sides, whether you are putting steel only on 2 sides, that of course you have to be very clearly defined in the program. Then you get the correct results. This is some sample output you have. some axial load is there, some initial moments are there, and you have to calculate. I think Vatsal has defined very nicely all these eccentricity moments, and then the centerness moments and all when the columns are slender. So you have to just take into account all these effects and then do your designs. And again, as I say, you have to just cross check one simple sample problem when you do the software design. Now, I'm just coming to the end. The few slides are remaining. I will touch upon the detailing part also, what is available now. So, you, of course, you have to use the proper combinations in the design, define correct parameters. This I talked about that. And the reinforcement and the bar arrangement also you can decide. Diameters also you can decide what type of diameters you are going to use. According to the arrangement will be worked out. Now, there are some popular software packages. This is like a beam design output, but this is not a drafting. Drafting is again separately done in RCDC. So I will just show you that also. So now after the analysis is over, now you have to design the foundations. So as I said, from the stat analysis, you can transfer the data into stat foundation at once, which can of course take out all the support reactions from the stat analysis. So once the data is available, now you can design the foundations. Now it can be simple isolated foundations, or if the foundations are overlapping, then you have to of course go for the combined foundation design. If all the three foundation also not enough, if they are also merging with each other, then of course you think about the raw foundation or mat foundation. Sometimes if the soil is not good enough, you have to go to the deeper depths. In the strata is not good, then of course you have to go for pile foundations. So there you have to design the pile caps. So that can be done in this type of module. And then it will produce the design calculations for you and the drawings as well. Analysis of machine foundation is another important aspect of the SAT foundation module, which can perform this type of analysis also, or it can analyze the vessel foundations. Like in the industrial structures, we have horizontal vessels or vertical vessels. So these are some schematic view of the foundation design. See, you can have the strip footings like this. You can have combined footings, or you can have this type of isolated single footing. Okay, so these are vessel type of footing. So you have the vertical vessel, or you have some kind of heat exchangers and all these things, sub chimneys and all. So different type of modules are available. Of course, based on your requirement, you have to choose a type of foundations. Reactions are taken from, of course, STAD, and then you can do this type of design. But again, the same thing. You have to just do the basic cross check yourself by the basic hand calculation. This is again some combined footing. There are two columns, and this is a common footing for this strip type of foundation you can have. And you can just detail it with the number of bars and all. That is producing some basic drawings, of course. More powerful drawing generation will be through RCDC. So again, the same thing, STAD analysis. RCDC can read data either from STAD or from ETAB. I think mostly people are using RCDC for your detailing purpose. So after the analysis is done, I can transfer data to this module, and then I can do the design of slabs, or you can design your beams, you can design the columns, you can design the shear walls, or you can do some isolated footings also, pile caps also, and some advanced module will, I think, support the flat slab analysis design foundation as called RCFE. So which is again a finite element based program, but the core will be from the STAD again. Then it will be on the STAD and will be used for the analysis purpose. So these are the different modules available. Once you have the data ready, analysis is done, then these programs can produce the drawings for you. And then of course, along with that, design calculations are also produced in RCDC, because RCDC is not taking the design of the STAT program, but what it does, it will pick up the forces basically, and based on the forces, it will produce its own design calculations and the drawing. And the drawing also, if you want to change some bars on some arrangement, then you can do that interactively when there is a table that is being produced. And after you finalize the design, then it will generate that into a particular drawing. Then you can produce a bar bending schedule for you, and the quantity calculations also can be worked out for beam. What is the quantity of the concrete? What is the quantity of steel? Same thing for your column design, for the slab design. Once I get the quantities, I can put in my rate. I can get the cost estimates also. The rates you can put for everything, all the material rate, basically the shuttering, the concrete rate, the steel rate, and all these things. So I can get a basic estimate also. That is possible. So this module will support you in doing the drafting. So this is a sample example I am just showing you. This is how the beam detailing is done. There are options available. Either you can have detailed drawings, like you can create the beam drawing for all the beams at different levels. So detailed bar arrangement, it will show what is the curtailment location and what length the bar is to be continued, what are the cirrus required over here in this region, what is spacing and all this thing. Beam number is there, size is there. And once you okay this will produce your bar bending also in the final part. So this is a detailed drawing, or you can have the tabular format drawing also available. The schedule is being prepared also. In the earlier days, most of the people, they were using only schedules. But I think the drawing is, I think, better all the time for better understanding at the side also. So you will not make mistakes. If you exactly know up to what length the bars will be transferred, and in the cross section, I can show the alignment of bars also, that is more clear. Otherwise, it is left to the fitter and the side people, whether you put all the four bars in one layer. If you do that, then you will not have the proper space for concreting. So I think detailed drawings are very, very important, wherein you have to show all the reinforcement details in the cross sections with the spacing and everything in detail. I think for slabs also, it can be mode also in the slabs, and the pattern of the reinforcement will produce with the quantities and also. There are different modules like a slab, beams. Then similarly, you can produce a beam design also. See, in a table form, it will show the design first. If I want to make any changes in the bar diameters, for example, instead of say 20 mm, I have to use say 25 mm diameter bar, and number of bars I have to change, you can do that. So program automatically checks the area of reinforcement and whether it is more than what is required. So then only it will allow to change the bars. And accordingly, drawings will be automatically updated. So these are the facilities available. Some user interaction is also available over here. So you can modify the detail based on your own requirements. And after doing all these things, you can produce a bar bending schedule also, which is required at site basically. Then what is the bar length required, what is the L bend here, and what is the quantity of this bar, how many bars are required, and what is the diameter. So again, summary will be available. So on the summary sheet, I can order the reinforcement directly. For 8 mm diameter, I need so much of kg steel, 10 mm diameter, so many tons of steel, and so on. So this is very useful tool again. So this is my last slide. So always again, the same thing I am emphasizing again and again. You have to compare the results of your any computer model with approximate hand calculations. So there is no substitute to your best engineering judgment and hand calculations. So people feel that once you use software, most of the time people say that, okay, this is a result produced by ETAB, or this is the output of STAD. But if the output is wrong, then what the use? So most important is your hand calculations and cross-checking the results all the time. So that's all from my side. I think if you want, we can have some kind of questions. Going back to the moderators. We can take up some questions. Nikam sir. Yeah, you can read out some, I think, important part, which I can accommodate in whatever available time we have. Yeah, that's what I said again. See, you're based on your experience and judgment only, you can decide the sizes and columns. There are, of course, some guidelines available. Like yesterday, if you remember, Vatsal has told you that as per the new code, the stress is limited now. It is 0.4 FCK for your columns. So if I know the total column load PU on my column with all the load combinations, I can calculate the size, that is B into D, that is known, because the stress is limited to 0.4 FCK. But it is as a starting point, I am saying, based on your, of course, judgment and experience, you can modify that. But it's a starting point you have to keep in mind. Same thing for the beams also. What you have to do is basically it depends on your architectural requirements and the spans what you have. So based on that, you can decide. Sometimes people say that we want to avoid the lintels in our buildings. If the floor height is say 2.9 meters and so on, so all the general beams are taken as 700 millimeters. So based on that, the sizes of beams are generally fixed, and column size and shear walls are basically based on your preliminary calculations and judgment. You have to decide, and then you have to modify. Of course, once you do the analysis, you will come to know the forces, and then you can keep on modifying that. See, Tekla is basically for only detailing. It does the steel structure detailing. STAD and ETAB both are popular software packages. Both are used for building design. As I said, mostly ETAB will be used for RC type of building, that is more popular. And STAD is a general purpose program which can be used for building as well as other type of structure. Like I say, I have to design a gantry girder. I have to design a truss. I have to design any kind of dome. I can use STAD also for that. As well as I am using STAD for building. Okay, both the softwares are very popular and good software. So you can master any of the package and use it confidently, knowing the commands available and limitations of each software. Pardon me? See, basically design strip, what you're talking is mainly for the flat slab analysis. because if lateral analysis is a finite element based analysis, so you have to discretize the entire surface in a small finite elements, and you cannot have the results of any finite element at any particular point, because the local result will be very high. Say for example, bending moment at any finite element center or at any corner will be very high. So that's why finally, as the code also gives you, code talks about the column strip and middle strip concept. So similar to that, you have to model the strips over there also. And then that is basically averaging out of your forces or bending moments for your design purpose. Because otherwise, for every finite element, if you theoretically check the stress or the moment values, it will be different. And I cannot keep on putting different steel at different locations for finite elements. So you have to just normalize that kind of value. You have to average it out across some strips. So that's why there are strips are being defined, and then it does the averaging internally by the program. It will show you the values directly in the output. That is how the strips are being defined there. See, column design is basically a very tricky issue, and it is a repeated process. So for any given load combination, for example, you have the PU and you have MU Y and MU X. So moment in both directions and axial load if you have. So what you have to do is the size is first decided. After that, you have to assume some kind of steel in the column. And for that particular steel, you have to just make the interaction diagram as shown by Vatsal yesterday. And then you have to check your given forces, whether that is falling within the curve or not. There is an interaction equation given in IS 456 in the column design part. So you have to satisfy that equation. So that is nothing but your moment, actual moment divided by the capacity of the column in that particular direction raised to alpha in both directions, and that should be less than 1. The summation of these moments, actual moment to capacity raised to alpha, is the equation about y-axis, and about x-axis should be less than 1. If that is satisfied, then the column is okay or column is safe. That means if you just plot that in the interaction curve, it should be inside the curve, should not go outside the region. That is what you have to do. So that is a very tricky thing, and that is very iterative process. It is not a single step. So you have to assume something, and you have to then cross check whether your assumption is correct or not. So that's why you need the programs to do this repetitive work and calculations. Cantilever slab, you should not release the moment, otherwise it will come down. You can define the temperature loading. Basically, suppose if you are doing a finite element model or any frame model also, and there is a facility to give the temperature loading on the structure. What does it basically perform? You have to give the rise in temperature. See, normally we are assuming that it is at certain temperature. Okay, we are constructing the structure. And then afterwards, in the summer, the temperature will go up, say for example. So then what is the effect of the temperature rise on my structure? So that is to be analyzed. So there is a command available in the software, in all the software that is available, of course. For that, you need to give the coefficient of thermal expansion in the property of the material. So what happens then? The structure expands. If there is the structure heated, like for example, the structure tries to expand, but there are supports which are not allowing the structure to displace or to move away, and that's why additional forces are being produced in the structure. Maybe additional shears are produced, additional bending moments are produced because the temperature effect, maybe cooling or heating. Okay, so that needs to be taken into account in your design calculation also, along with your dead load and live loads. So it is a part of your loading case. Basically, temperature is nothing but another load, like your loads. And then there are combinations given in the code, suggested in the code for this type of applications. So for designing, you have to take into account the temperature loads also, whether it is required. Which command? Select command. See, select command is basically used for your steel design when you want to select the optimum section from the database. Otherwise, by default, what the program is doing, suppose if I model some truss and they analyze the structure and say, just check the design, whether it is okay or not. So the program section pass, okay, that it will take. But if you to do the design, then there is a available select. So I will use the program section form, which is the optimum section or which is the most economical section. So that program can select. So for that purpose, you can use this type of select command. See, there is nothing but a cantilever or normal slab. Floor loading is basically an algorithm available for defining two-way distribution of loading. So without any finite elements, if you define a floor bounded by 4 beams, okay, so the beams will be loaded with a two-way distribution of load. That is what is done in the floor load option command. So what you have to do is you have to just give the intensity of load. Say for example, lie load. Say lie load is 2 kilonewton per meter square. Suppose lie load for the residential structures. So if we declare the lie load at floor level per meter, the program will distribute that load onto all the beams based on a two-way distribution. So based on the aspect ratio and all, it will calculate two-way distribution. That's a triangle and trapezoid load basically, and that is applied on the beams. So that is what is done in the program without using the finite elements. So that is the idea. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Nikam sir. Dear friends, as we are now on the outskirts of the entire 1 week session, there are few representatives who wish to give their feedback and their experiences to be shared within this entire week. Now, I would like to call upon on mic Nima Doj from Parul University, Bhutan.
A very good evening, and thank you, sir, for letting me share my experience. And I am Nima Doji from Bhutan and studying in Parul University, final year civil. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling a week and a month in advance at Radix Coated. We have been fortunate enough to back by the team of very motivated and dedicated coordinators, committee, and the volunteer. I cannot thank everyone enough for the involvement they have shown and the willingness they have expressed to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. I really thank you, sir, for your wisdom that pour to us regarding the design and the software that to utilize while designing in our field. Last but not the least, I thank all the coordinator and the expert guest official for a successful 1 week course, which have shown a very light and a way and a path and a career to all the engineering students and all the engineering careers. Once again, thank you very much to all the participants and especially to the speaker for letting me share my gratitude to all and hoping for the same online course like this hereafter and hope they will invite us too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your nice words. Now, we'll move towards Mr. Osama Rehman from JP Institute of Engineering and Technology, Hyderabad. Osama, sir. Dear host, kindly unmute Osama Rehman. Mr. Osama Rehman. Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, Osama sir is there. Okay, yes, sir, continue.
Yes, sir. Sorry for late, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes. So, my name is Osama Rahman. I am from Uttar Pradesh and I studied from JNTU Engineering College and I did my BTech in 2017 and I worked as a site engineer for 2 years. One is a contractor and one is a client. And there the lecture was so helpful. I worked as a site engineer, worked as a site whole day, work with under the sun. It was a really tough job. So I wanted to move in design field. So I got your lecture on design field and I applied and I got very good knowledge. It is boost my knowledge in design field. Thank you so much again. My suggestion is to all to watch this lecture in brief because these lectures are available in YouTube and make a notes. So thank you. Thank you all other team who did for us.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now, we'll go towards Mr. Naveen Kumar Jaiswal from Sandeep University, Nasik. Okay. Mr. Mansoor Ahmad Barlaskar from the Institute of Civil Engineers, Delhi. Mansur Ahmed sir, are you there? If there might be any technical difficulty, we'll move towards the next one, that is Mr. Jabbar Singh Mandloi from Sri Aurobindo Institute, Indore.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Jabbar Singh Mandloi.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Sir, kindly unmute yourself. As the host is providing you the facility to unmute, you are muting yourself again.
Hello.
Yes, sir, speak up.
Yes, sir. It's very helpful for us, sir. Hello.
Okay. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir. It's very helpful for us, and I want to be in design field, and I also in structure for MTech in structure analysis.
Okay.
And sir, I want to again in details in software analysis. So, sir, any guidance for me, sir? Hello. Okay, sir.
Okay. Mansur Ahmed, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mansur Ahmed, sir is from the Institute of Civil Engineers, Delhi. He wishes to share his feedback about this session. Mansur Ahmed, sir?
First of all, sir, thanks to all our Sandeep College organization in structural design. And actually, sir, I'm also, first of all, most interested in structural design field. But nowadays, I'm very concept clear whenever the program will start 7th July to till today. I'm so much learning about slab and about beam also and shear wall and design foundation also. Lots of doubt session also clear. So many thanks. Those all are hardworking, my beloved all sir and organization all Sandeep Polytechnic Nashik design artistic structure and webinar schedule. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Good evening to one all who are present here for this 1 week certified course organized by Indian Society of Structural Engineers in association with Sandeep Foundation, Sandeep Polytechnic Nashik. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks as we are on the outskirts of today's session as well as 1 week webinar itself. First and foremost, I must extend my heartfelt gratitude to our guest speaker for today, that is Honorable Mr. Hemant Wadalkar sir. Friends, despite his busy schedule, he has found time to grace this occasion and he has thoroughly explained the concepts and the content in a very simple and intellectual words. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your vivid presentation. Dear participants, we should remain oblique to all our keynote speakers from first day, that is Mr. Umesh Joshi sir, Honorable Mr. Madhav Chikodi sir, Mr. Milind Shinde sir, Mr. Vatsal Gokani sir, Mr. Shekhar Ghate sir, and for today it is Mr. Hemant Wadalkar sir. We are really grateful to Honorable Mr. Shantilal Jain sir, President ISSC, for his benign presence as well as the kind support. Dear friends, I am truly thankful to Honorable Professor Prashant Patil sir for his valuable guidance. For organization of such webinar, he always carried out his role as a lighthouse to us and our institute. Thank you so much, sir. Very importantly, I must thank all my dear and distinguished participants. In such a large numbers, they have attended and registered throughout the week. Dear friends, it's again my humble duty to extend my sincere thanks to the head of Civil Engineering Department, Professor Vilas Nikam, and his team of professors for successful organization of this 1 week webinar. Thank you all. Now, there are 1 or 2 different instructions to all dear participants. First
I will just say a few words, if you allow
Yes,
me.
sir.
Say on
Yes,
behalf
sir.
of Indian
Yes.
Society of Structural Engineers
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
the entire team of, I think, Prashant Patil sir, Vilas Nikam sir, Shimpi sir, and all the team of Sandeep Foundation. We are very much grateful that you have just created this wonderful platform and done very nice program for the civil engineering students. So all the students, you keep learning. The expert lectures will be again happening on our ISSC platform also. So we'll be intimated if you are in our student group, then you will get the intimation and you can join any of the future programs as well. So I invite all the students to join all our ISSC future programs. You can of course visit our website also for more information on our publications available and technical literature available on our site. So on behalf of all our ISSC team, I thank all the participants and the Sandeep Foundation for arranging the very nice lecture series for the students especially. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. There are a few instructions to all dear participants. Participants, the feedback link for today's session will be given in the chat box now. The overall program feedback link will be sent to you through email by tomorrow 9 a.m. Kindly note it that the overall feedback link for the entire webinar will be sent to you through email by tomorrow 9 a.m. And the presentations by all the respected speakers and the recorded link will be again sent you through email within 2 days. The instructions are now over. With due permission of authorities, I hereby declare that this one-week webinar is now completed. Thank you. Thank you everyone for this overwhelming support. Thank you all.